Yu was an untalented and ordinary boy who found himself admitted to a school filled with exceptionally gifted students. However, things became even more complicated when he moved in with the three most talented and popular girls of the academy, leaving him no choice but to prove himself and find his own place among them. It all began at Seika Academy, a prestigious school where students cultivated unique talents. Yu had just transferred there, but on his first day he was humiliated by the vice captain of the martial arts club. In front of everyone, the vice captain mocked Yu, calling him a weak and talentless failure. The students whispered and looked down on him, particularly because he was the son of Subaru, a legendary actress and a symbol of greatness. That Yu demonstrate his talent before the three royals, the top three prodigies of the academy. Frustrated, Yu told him to stop comparing him to his mother. He attempted to fight back, but with his lack of skill and strength, he was effortlessly thrown to the ground. The crowd sneered, disappointed at how far Subaru's son had fallen. Still, Yu stood up and told the vice captain to stop obsessing over talent, claiming there was more to life than natural gifts. For a brief moment, sensing something of Subaru's charisma in Yu. But before the situation escalated, the vice captain was stopped by Miko, the president of the martial arts club, and one of the three royals. The other two royals arrived, Mia, the star of the advanced academic program, and Kazuki, the academy's brightest theater actress. Yu trembled at their presence, confused and intimidated by their fame and skill. Kazuki approached him, and, after learning of his lack of talent, bluntly told him that he had no place at this school. To defend himself, Yu showed them his acceptance letter for the general education program, but the royals were unfamiliar with such a department. Feeling unwelcomed, Yu attempted to leave, but Miko ordered him to clean the dojo as punishment for his attitude. Yu initially resisted, but he eventually complied. Later, when the martial arts team returned, they were shocked to see how thoroughly Yu had cleaned the entire dojo. Meanwhile, Yu reflected on his own life as he made his way to his new home. For as long as he could remember, he had wanted praise and recognition, just like his talented mother. He once believed he was a decent actor until he compared himself to Subaru and realized how far beneath her he truly was. Despite his failures, Yu kept trying in different fields, but every failure only pushed him further away from his mother. When Subaru became gravely ill, Yu regretted their emotional distance. While in the hospital, he saw her rewatching an old TV series where she played a loving mother in a happy family. He told her he liked that show, and she confessed that she loved it too, particularly the scenes where the family shared meals together. That moment, Yu realized that what Subaru truly desired was a happy family, something she never had. Unfortunately, before Yu could fulfill that dream for her, she passed away, leaving him with a note wishing for him to find happiness and create a family of his own. Though unsure how to achieve that, Yu vowed to try. Arriving at his new home, Yu was stunned to find a massive, luxurious mansion awaiting him. His excitement, however, was cut short when Miko attacked him, wrapped only in a towel, assuming he was a trespasser. Yu quickly explained himself, but she slipped, landing in a compromising position. Instead of helping her, Yu teased her, drying her hair and frustrating her further. The other two royals, Miwa and Kazuki, soon arrived, surrounding Yu and demanding an explanation. Yu, equally confused, had no idea why they were living there too. Just then, his phone rang. The owner of the mansion, the father of the three girls, explained that Yu would be staying there as a favor to Subaru, and he hoped Yu could find his own path while living with his daughters. The sisters were far from welcoming. Shocked that their father had taken in someone despite their cold reception, Yu remained determined to build a sense of family with them. Honoring his mother's wish, as he settled in, Yu noticed the house was messy, with dirty dishes in the sink and laundry piled up. He learned that each girl had her own failed chores. Kazuki had broken dishes while attempting to clean them, and Miwa had neglected the laundry. Miko, responsible for cleaning, also failed to keep the house tidy, while Yu calmly took over, cleaning everything with ease. This impressed them, especially Miko, who recalled how he had cleaned the dojo. Using his charm, Yu managed to fluster the three sisters, though they quickly composed themselves. The next morning, Yu was excited for a day off, but the mansion shook as Miko began her intense early training. Miwa was already practicing shogi, and Kazuki was concocting a bizarre green drink in the kitchen. Curious, Yu asked them why they were so busy so early. Kazuki explained that this was their routine, just as brushing teeth was his. She dismissed his suggestion for breakfast together, prioritizing her rehearsals. Ryo tried to invite Miwa as well, but she ignored him, consumed by her game. He was reminded of his mother, who often skipped family meals for her career. Miko also rejected his breakfast offer, claiming his food lacked proper nutrition. He began to understand that prodigies like his mother and the sisters were driven by an intense desire to perfect their talents, even at the cost of simple joys. Still, before they left for the day, he warmly wished them goodbye, surprising them. Though they brushed it off, they couldn't help but blush at his unexpected kindness. Later, Yu received a call from their father, who asked him to support the sisters. The man believed that, despite their talents, his daughters would face obstacles they couldn't overcome alone. He hoped Yu could help them grow and, in the process, find his own way. Kazuki's father explained to you that each of his daughters had an important challenge ahead. Kazuki was preparing for a crucial audition. Nico had an upcoming martial arts tournament, and Miwa was focused on her shogi events. He encouraged you to help them out in any way he could. You, however, doubted himself. As a self-proclaimed talentless nobody, he wondered how he could ever be of any real assistance to prodigies like the three sisters. Yet when he imagined them failing at the very things they excelled at, he couldn't help but remember the pain of his own failures and how he had become a disappointment to his late mother. That memory pushed him to try. His plan began with something simple. He would bring them together through shared meals. After martial arts practice, Nico came home and was startled to find you in the kitchen cooking. When she saw him tasting his food, she blurted out how unexpectedly attractive he looked in that moment. You offered her a taste of his dish, and though tempted, Nico pulled herself together and declined, claiming she wouldn't be tamed by his cooking. She left for a shower, but upon returning, she was surprised to see you still cooking, now surrounded by a pile of open cookbooks, working even harder. Not long after, Miwa entered the kitchen. You proudly announced that he would prepare the most delicious and nutritious meals for them. The sisters, however, dismissed his offer, brushing him off like they always did with their housemaid's attempts at cooking. Nico in particular, firmly believed she needed to control everything she ate in order to stay in peak physical condition. Nico couldn't resist peeking at Yu's dish. She began to drool when she saw the gourmet plate he had prepared. You suddenly appeared behind her, explaining with obsessive detail how the meal was perfectly balanced with the nutrients she needed to maintain her athletic form. His persistence won her over, and she agreed to try it. You exhausted, admitting that he had prepared the dish according to recommendations from professional dietitians just for her. Nico blushed at the thought that he had gone to such lengths for her. The moment she took her first bite, she praised his cooking. And you pictured the moment as if he had successfully tamed a stray cat with a bowl of milk. Meanwhile, Miwa was secretly watching them. You told her how the food he had made was specially designed with brain-boosting nutrients. Miwa also gave in and began eating. As the sisters shared the meal, they remarked on how long it had been since they last sat down together. You smiled, happy to see them bonding. Just then, Kazuki walked in, confused by the rare sight of her sisters eating happily together. You, as always, started explaining the benefits of his cooking for her acting career, claiming it would help give her flawless skin for the stage, but Kazuki coldly refused his offer. Nico tried backing him up, but Kazuki declared that eating together wasn't her thing. To you, it felt like a stubborn cat rejecting food, and the rejection stung. Seeing how hard you had worked, Nico felt sorry for him and took another serving to support him. However, you accidentally commented that Kazuki's meal was loaded with carbs and might make her gain weight, which angered Nico. He quickly reassured her, promising to track her diet and keep her in shape, which only made her blush even harder. 3 days later, you started attending classes at the academy. Still unsure how to win Kazuki over, he decided that the best approach was to confront her directly. He found her surrounded by a crowd, but the moment they saw him, they mocked him as the school's talentless scrub. Kazuki joined in, teasing him unexpectedly. You began pleading with her to accept his special gift that would make her happy. While you was referring to his cooking, the girls around them misinterpreted his words, thinking he was making some sort of romantic advance. The misunderstanding caused chaos, and you panicked and ran away. Seeking help, he approached Nico, but every time he looked at her, she became flustered. Her friends cornered you for acting overly familiar with her, but Nico appeared with such an intimidating aura that they all backed off. You, once again defeated, turned to his final option, Miwa. In her classroom, Miwa was quietly playing shogi on her phone when she overheard classmates struggling with a math problem. Without hesitation, she solved it for them. But instead, the students seemed intimidated by her intelligence. You arrived and noticed how quiet and withdrawn Miwa was at school, just like at home. He tried to invite her to lunch, but Miwa rejected him and walked away. Determined, you chased after her, resulting in a ridiculous chase across campus just for the chance to share a meal. Eventually, they both collapsed from exhaustion, and you realized Miwa was as bad at sports as he was. He commented on her reserved nature, and Miwa admitted that being one of the 3 royals made it difficult for her to relate to others or talk about typical girl things. You responded by jokingly calling himself a fellow royal, though he clarified that he was more of a royal failure since he was bad at everything. Miwa couldn't help but giggle at his honesty, calling him an idiot. After that moment, they shared lunch together. Miwa advised you that if he wanted to get closer to Kazuki, he needed to figure out her favorite food. This gave you an idea. He would try to recreate their mother's cooking. Later that evening, he was preparing a special meal when Kazuki suddenly walked in, pale and exhausted, before collapsing in front of him. They quickly realized she had a severe fever. Though her sisters tried to take care of her, Kazuki stubbornly kicked everyone out of her room. You, unwilling to give up, continued sending her food, but she rejected every attempt. You barged into her room with his cooking. When she tried to push him out, her weakness made her stumble, and she accidentally fell on top of him. You reminded her that if she didn't get better, she would miss her rehearsals, and offered to act as her stand-in partner until she recovered. He boasted about being the son of the great actress Subaru, claiming that acting ran in his blood. Kazuki, momentarily intrigued, agreed to let him try. However, the moment you began reciting lines, his performance was so terrible that Kazuki kicked him out. Still, he returned day after day, determined to improve and help her rehearse, even if she always rejected him. His persistence frustrated Kazuki, who saw how different he was from her. She was flawless and dependable, while he seemed hopeless and clumsy. One night, Kazuki came downstairs and found you watching her old performances on TV, practicing his lines with intense focus. Seeing his effort touched her, though he was still a terrible actor, she recognized his determination. The next day, when you came to her room to practice again, Kazuki, remembering his effort, didn't kick him out. They began rehearsing together, and to everyone's surprise, especially Yusi, delivered one line perfectly. Realizing that after more than 10 years of trying, he had finally managed to act well, Kazuki, seeing his passion, felt a pang of envy. She finally accepted to eat his cooking so she could recover. He celebrated, promising her a masterpiece meal. However, Kazuki stopped him, blushing, and shyly admitted that there was something she needed to tell him. Curling up in embarrassment, she confessed that she didn't like carrots, mushrooms, bell peppers, or several other foods. Yu was shocked to realize that all this time, Kazuki wasn't rejecting his meals for any complicated reason. She was simply a picky eater.